this is Melissa, and this is the book break. So I'm very excited to talk with our guest that's coming in. Her name is Shannon Messenger. I'm sure you've heard of her before. She has this little series called Keeper of the Last Cities, and she has a brand new graphic novel. So let's bring her in.
Hello.
Hi, Shannon. So this series has been around a long time, and it's well loved. And, I'm curious because now we've got your graphic novel that's just coming out. But when did the very first book in this series come out?
It actually came out, more than 10 years ago at this point. It was, I believe, October 2nd, 2012 was when the first book came out. I actually came up with the idea for it in 2008. So
wow.
I'm coming up on almost 15 years with these characters living in my head. I can't decide if that's good or okay, these kids are driving me crazy.
Well, that reminds me of Mr. Farkle, who says these kids all the time, right? Did I say his name right? Is it Mr. Farkle?
Forkle, but same.
Forkle,
it works.
that's it, Forkle. So for the very few people who maybe haven't heard of your series before, tell us what it's about.
So, obviously there's a lot going on. It's quite lengthy of a series, but at its heart, it's the story of Sophie Foster. And when we meet her in book one, she is hiding the fact that she has this ability to read minds. And she thinks that she can do these things because she fell and hit her head when she was 5 years old. But then this boy shows up and she kind of notices two things about him. One, that he is really, really, really cute. And the other, that he has the first quiet mind of anyone she's ever met. And as they start talking, she comes to tell her that she's not human and that she belongs to this secret world within our world called the Lost Cities, and that they've been looking for her for 12 years. And now that they've found her, she needs to go live where she belongs. And so she's both kind of excited and terrified, excited by a chance to finally be where she belongs, but terrified that she's going to leave behind everything she's ever known and start over. And just as she's kind of settling in, she starts to wonder, wait, why was I here? Why was I living with humans? Why hide me away? What's going on? And the answer to that, I won't spoil anything, but that's kind of what the rest of the series is exploring. And, it just has to do with a giant conspiracy that could, save or destroy the world. No pressure at all on
No
Sophie.
big deal, right?
Typical 12-year-old stuff, nothing out of the ordinary there, no life or death experiences. I don't almost kill her, all the time.
Nothing like that.
Nothing like that at all.
Yeah. And, I got to say about your books is there is a scene in there where I won't spoil it either. Where she's having to say goodbye to her family for a sad reason. And you totally made me cry, but it was written so well. Sometimes those hard scenes, especially in middle grade books, are not written very well, but it was done just so incredibly well. And so for parents who are like, I don't want to make my kid cry, don't worry. It's okay. Your kid will love the series anyways. But it was just so well done. So, from a fan.
It's funny because that scene, the published version of Keeper, I always tell people, is draft 20. It's the first book I ever wrote, but I had no idea how to write a book. So it took me 20 times to write it, to figure that out. But that scene is probably like draft 50, because that scene was just trying to find that right tone of it being sad, but not too sad, but also it's a big moment. If she wasn't sad, this would be weird. It would be kind of unlikable. And so it was really going through with critique partners and really being so am I there yet? And they'd be close, but let's try tweaking this. And then maybe we need to tweak this. And yeah, so I'm glad you liked that scene, because wow, was it a struggle.
Yeah. Oh, I can only imagine. I mean, it was well done. Well, and one of the things, now we'll move a little more into the graphic part of your graphic novel. I mean, your artwork is so fantastic. I mean, tell us, how was your process in working with the artist? Because obviously you have an idea in your head of what the characters look like, but look at this. I mean, it was really fun.
Yeah, for one thing, I'm such a lucky author that they let me be involved in these things, because not every author gets that.
Yeah.
But I got to be involved from every stage of it. Like, I was sent portfolios of artists to consider, and then narrowed it down to which ones would send in auditions. And then from there, picked, Gabriella, because she just nailed it. And then, I got to see the rough sketches, I got to see the inks, I got to see the color, I got to see the finals, and I got to give input at every stage. And one of the things that I always try to do whenever I'm working with any of the artists who've worked on the series, and there's been quite a few between the covers and different promotional pieces that we've done and things like that, I always try to let them have their own vision in the art, but still try to stay true to the descriptions that are in the book. So it's a very delicate fine line that we have to walk of, I'm like, okay, so, obviously there's certain characteristics that are specifically called out that we need to match, whether it be descriptive things about scenery or descriptive things about the characters themselves. But beyond that, I want them to have the space to be like, okay, so it says Sophie has shortish blonde hair. They can decide what length that is. They can decide how full they want her hair. They can decide if they want it to have a little bit of wave to it or not. And my goal with that is, because I feel like artists, it shows a little bit more energy and passion in their work if they're getting to put a little bit of their own creativity into it. But also, I didn't want it to be that, like, if we work with 10 artists, we end up with 10 pieces that all basically look the same. I wanted it to be that it's like, oh no, that's that artist Sophie, and that's this artist Sophie. And so it was really fun getting to work with Gabriella on so many details of so many things that we've never seen before, and then things that we have seen before, but we're getting her take on it. And it was, I hope it was as fun for her as it was for me to really just kind of dig in and let her do her own thing, but then also make sure that we tried to stay true to what fans were expecting. And then the third thing was that, certain things, the way I described them, when you go to actually draw them out, it's like, that doesn't look quite as good as I thought it was going to. Like, maybe we should try something else. Like, the fact that their world is so sparkly, that didn't render that well on the page, because you can't put like just little white dots all over everything to try to make it look sparkly. So there were certain times where we chose to make a scene look a little bit less of like glass and crystal and things than it might have been described in the book, because that actually did a better job of capturing what I was going for. And so that's what's fun about adaptations, is that you get to change things to fit the new medium that you're working in.
Yeah, I agree. And I think the art was so fun. And, I've always had great art on your covers anyway, but to see like a new rendering of the main characters on the cover, I just thought was really well done. So, I mean, if we pull up the cover again, we can just see it. It's just, I look at her eyes again, and like, okay, she has the brown eyes and they're fun. And it does look like a sparkly world, even without a bunch of dots, like you were saying.
Yeah.
So,
it was an interesting, approach to things and really figuring it out. And I definitely want, because my covers are so amazing, I was just like, I really want to find a different style artist. I don't want it to seem like this artist is trying to be Jason Chan, so especially because I just feel like the graphic novel format, it has certain styles that work better in that format in general anyway. And so I wanted something that had like outlines and was a little bit more cartoonish feeling and less realistic feeling. And that's what I loved about Gabriella. I kind of call her style like Disney meets manga. It's just kind of like that perfect blend of the two, and makes it like cartoony but not. And I love it.
Yeah, I think it was really fun. And, I had to say, we just recently had Halloween, and I saw a couple kids, and I think some of this was on your Facebook, so people can look on your Facebook, and they were dressed up as Sophie, and it was so cute. So if you haven't seen that yet, there's kids out there that dressed up as Sophie for Halloween this year, and I thought that was so fun.
That is amazing. Every year I get a few pictures of those, and I'm just like, this is the coolest thing ever. So I have the best readers. I really do. I know every author says that, but I really do have the best.
Yeah. Really that's great. Well, thank you so much for being here with us today, Shannon.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun.
Thanks. And thank you to our viewers. We'll see you next time.